Hey, this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, you ever hear that phrase, at the end of the day? Well, at the end of the day, well, it is the end of the day right here. Looking at the clock, it's 5 after 11. Pretty late for me to be up. Get up early, go to bed early usually. But anyway, it seems to get later and later. But at the end of the day, what does it matter? And what I think matters, not that that matters, but it actually is whether we are as good as our word. And that's an old-fashioned phrase now. Things aren't done on a handshake anymore, are they? They have to be written down on a contract. What was it? Sam Goldwyn, who said, "A verbal contract is not worth the paper it's written on." That was a famous quote. Well, I was thinking about a true story. A friend of mine who was an attorney had a son, single parent, bringing up a son, and he's an attorney. And we all have the very low opinions of attorneys, but this man, when I first arrived in California, was a good friend. Lost touch with him now, but he was a good friend and helped me a lot in the beginning. But he had a kid who I didn't warm to, and anyway, I just remember that this is the son of an attorney, and attorneys think in terms of the law, not God's law, not something that God would have thought up, but what man has thought up, and man thinks up his laws in terms of what is being done wrong. So if there's a load of robberies, they have laws for robbery, and if there's a load of rapes, they have laws for rapes, and so on. So I was thinking about how this boy mithered his father over and over. I want to get the Frankenstein video game. He wanted the Frankenstein video game. I'm making that up. It might not have been Frankenstein. But anyway, he wanted the Frankenstein video. Well, he was one of those kids, like most kids are, can be incredibly, mind-numbingly persistent. And he went on and on and on about the Frankenstein video. I just want the Frankenstein video. Dad, I've got to have the Frankenstein video. That's the video game that I need. It's a Frankenstein video. Frankenstein, 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 Frankenstein. Till it drove his father crazy. So, in typical lawyer fashion, said, I'm going to put an end to this. We're going to have a contract. I'm going to draw this contract up and you're going to sign it, and then we'll go from there. So he drew up a contract, and in the contract it said, in consideration for receiving the game, the Frankenstein game, video game, I promise not to ask ever again for another video game. If my father agrees to give me a video game, it's purely his choice and his decision, but I will not ask and not expect another game if I get the Frankenstein game. So he types it up, all legal, a legal contract, binding, and he puts it down in front of the kid, says, there's the pen. If you want the Frankenstein game, you'll sign the contract. And the kid picked up the pen and he signed the contract. So now they get in the car and they go down to the game shop. And they get there, they go in, it says, right, remember that you have signed a contract. And the kid says, okay, just want the game. So they get up to the counter and they've sold out of that game, so the kid chooses another one. And he chooses the vampire game. And he gets home and he plays the vampire game to death. No pun intended. And he plays it and he plays it and he plays it. And then, of course, in true kid fashion, he gets tired of it. So he says to his father, I want the Frankenstein game. And his father, attorney, gets out the contract, slaps the contract down. You signed a contract saying that if you got the game, you would never ask for another game. And the boy pointed to the contract, and we're talking about an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old or 8-year-old. And he said, yes, but Dad, that contract was for the Frankenstein movie video game, and you didn't get the Frankenstein game. You got me the vampire game, so therefore the contract is not binding. The attorney, of course, realized that he's been had, and he has to get the Frankenstein game anyway. Now, here's the here's the clincher on that. The attorney father, instead of looking at the fact that the boy had broken the spirit of the contract, he was proud of the boy because the boy had seen through a clause, an opening in the contract, and by quoting the small print, won over and through the contract. Now, you can argue all day on whether this is right or wrong, and who was clever and who did what, and what was right and what was wrong. For me, the boy had missed an important lesson in ethics. He had not kept the spirit of the agreement. And at all times with our agreements, we should be keeping the spirit of the agreement. That's what a handshake is. You can say to someone who has only asked you to shake hands, when you want to break the agreement, well, what do you have in writing? You should have got it in writing. That's the law. And you'd be probably correct. But the spirit of the agreement, if you have made it and shook hands like gentlemen, like the old gentlemen, would be that you had broken the agreement. No, I changed my mind. Oh, no, I didn't. That's not quite what I agreed. And no, it's different. And yes, and you can't hold me to that. And where's your contract? And all of that. If you've broken the spirit of the agreement, then you haven't kept your word. And now, because your word is broken, it's like a broken mirror. Beth always says to me that once a mirror is broken, even if it's repaired, it will still be cracked, and the image that it shows will not be perfect. And I kind of go along with that. If you make an agreement, keep to the spirit of the agreement. And that seems to me the most important thing. And that's my little word at the end of the day. I already did the end of the day, but somehow the day got later, and here I am again. This is a foreigner in the Philippines, and I bid you good night or good morning, depending on where you are on the time zone. Bye for now.